I've got two new makes to share with you. It's a woven blouse, beautiful, beautiful details on the sleeves, quite a few options here, and I've hacked this particular top into a beautiful dress as well. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have two garments to share. Beautiful garments for hot weather, fresh for summer. This top is called Mindelo and it's a pattern from each to stitch. Beautiful. Here you can see the photos that Kenneth took of herself and her versions. I believe she used rayon for her versions. Beautiful, beautiful. As you can see on the liner, there's buttons going down the front. There's a V type of neckline. Very easy to finish with a facing on the inside, under stitch, top stitch, all those things. Plenty of buttons down the front. There are bust darts here for shaping. The intake of that dart will depend to what cup size you're sewing because we have that option there. Love that. At the back, it's cut on the fold, but there are back waist darts, fisheye darts, which I think is amazing. And although they're such a useful tool, they're not commonly seen in pads. I applaud every time I see them because everything fits so much better when they're there. So yeah, I'm very happy that those fisheye darts are located at the back. The length is at the mid hip. This is not a loose top, it's not a fitted one. I think the ease is just right. And now here's where all the special little bits come in. It's all got to do with the armhole finishes. So in essence, it is a sleeveless top, although you can see there's a sneaky flutter sleeve that is going to work on this armhole. So that's perfect. Sleeveless armholes that have been drafted to be sleeveless from the get-go usually tend to be a little smaller here. So you can't really just put on any type of sleeve. That's why the flutter sleeve being more loose works with this armhole. So that's an option for you. There are two ruffle pieces, one a little wider that you would use if you're just doing one single layer. And there's a smaller, narrower one that you would stack up on each other if you're doing the two layers. Once you've got the ruffles there pinned and or basted, whatever you want to do, the way that you sew the binding to the inside is going to be exactly the same as doing any type of binding. So it doesn't change there. So don't think it's especially hard. I have to be honest, the ruffles do take a little while because ruffles always do if you want them to look absolutely beautiful. But it's so, so, so nice. The result is beautiful. Now, because the Mindelo top from East to Stitch is brand new, it'll be 20% off through next Wednesday, the 25th of June. So make sure you grab it while it's on special if you like this style. I will leave you my affiliate link at the top of the comment section pinned. Super easy for you to find there. If you click on that link, it'll take you directly to the website. If you end up purchasing, I do receive a small commission back from Kenneth, from the designer, but it doesn't affect the price that you pay. It's all the same for you. It's just one way that you can support the work that I do here on YouTube, creating really helpful content for you to sew at home. So if you use my link, I super appreciate it, but you don't have to if you don't want to. You need light to medium weight woven fabric for this design. I would stay with the woven fabrics. I think sewing this in a knit would just overcomplicate things. And whenever I see a facing around there, I just think, just leave it up to the wovens. It would be so much more manageable. So light to medium weights are going to work okay. Now, you don't need drape for this design. I usually say when I see gathers anywhere, I want drapey fabric, but I'm talking about seams that go around the waist, maybe long puff sleeves, But these little flutters, I think, work really amazingly with fabric that has a little bit more structure. They just stand out more as a feature. Something that's a little drapier would just mean they're a little floppier. So if I was going to use really drapey fabric, I think I would go with the double flutter feature for two reasons. Because it's less bulky to have two layers of really light fabric that's drapey right there. And also because it would just make the feature stand out a little bit more. With the structured fabrics, lots of options here. Structured fabrics, amazing for the darts. Any garments that's really nicely shaped with darts is always going to look amazing with structured fabrics. It's also going to make it easier for you to work with that type of fabric. All your garment sewing cottons, cotton, lawn, poplin, chambray, shirting, that type of thing. 100% linen rayon blend, linen cotton blend, sisaka, lightweight denim, it's going to be amazing. Drapey, go with 100% rayon twill, tencel twill, polyester crepes if you find some that you like. Even 100% silk would be fine. You do need a little bit of interfacing fusible for the facing finishing side, and you need a couple of buttons. I usually end up putting more buttons than required. 1/2 inch buttons, anywhere from 6 to 8 to 9 maybe. Just Depends on how long you're making your top and how wide you want the spacing to be between them. I chose the same type of fabric for both of my versions, so I don't have a variety of fabrics to share. 55% linen, 45% rayon. They're pretty structured. I would say medium weight. Very beautiful to work with. Sizing amazing from 00 to 40 US, up to a 62-inch hip. Cup sizes from A through to double D, which is awesome. Anything woven with cup sizes is gold. Remember, your cup size for sewing is not the same as what you see on your bra. For sewing, you use the upper bust and the full bust measurement to figure out what sewing cup size you are. Check out the difference there, and then look at the chart and see what you are. I'm a C cup, means I have a 3-inch difference between my high bust and my full bust measurement. So that works out amazing. I get a beautiful bust start that is going to make everything look smooth here on the side. Very beautiful. If you look at the ease around the bust, it's around 3 inches of ease, going down to the waist around 6, going down to the hips around 5. So it's a nice amount of ease. You can pinch from the sides a little bit everywhere. You'll be really, really comfortable. It's going to be amazing. Now, for personal fitting, I had to blend in through a few sizes because that's what happens. For my bust, I chose a size 12 with the C cup option. Then I blended into a size 10 at the waist. And then I blended out to a size 14 at the hips. And that is how this garment was going to fit me for my current measurements right now. You can see what's going on right there. Super easy to go within the lines, very easy. For the waist darts at the back, I chose the size of the dart that matches the size I'm using for my waist. So I used a size 10 dart there. When you print out multiple sizes, you have multiple lines there. I didn't change anything about the length. What I did need to customize were the location of the darts. For the bust dart, I had to lower my bust dart by 5/8 of an inch. And for the waist darts, I had to raise the dart. So you see a fisheye dart. I'll show you a diagram of a fisheye dart there. There's the widest part of the dart. That should be at your waist height, at the smallest part of your back there. This dart was a little low for where my waist height is. My torso is a little short. I'm like up here, it's just a little higher on my body. So I just redrew these darts again. I kept the position where they were. I just raised that wider part there and just redrew the dart legs. And that's something I can determine with flat pattern measurements before I even sewed. I didn't make a test garment. I was quite confident that everything I did there on the pattern with my measuring was going to be enough to get a beautiful, beautiful top. So that's all. I'm going to share a lot of the sewing with you. Only about a 10-minute clip. It's not the longest sewing segment you've ever seen, but I put my effort into it so it looks really nice. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's see how to put the Mindelo top together. These are the two pieces that need interfacing with the Mindelo. It's the back facing and the front facings. My fabric is a little bigger than what I need. It's already been interfaced, block fusing as always. And now I can cut around the edges and have my pieces turn out exactly the same shape as the pattern piece. You'll never see me cut the interfacing separately and the fabric separately. Never, ever, ever. I always do block fusing. Now, because this linen is pretty stable, I'm quite happy to move the pattern piece around to suit my positioning here on the table. If this was a rayon or something lighter, then I would move my body and I wouldn't move the pattern piece. That's just something that I'm doing because this fabric allows it. It's not going to shift out of place basically. So this is the back facing, and then I'll just do the same for this other piece right here. Here are the pattern pieces for the Mindelo top from Itch to Stitch. For the version I'm making, there's not that many pieces. Actually, there's not many pieces for most of them. This is the front over here. We have a bust dart there. The depth of it will depend on what cup size you're using. I'm doing a C cup size. That is the front facing. That goes here. It's already interfaced. The back is on the fold. There are back waist darts here, fisheye darts. The back facing, and I'm doing a single ruffle. You can do a double ruffle as well, or you could do a flatter sleeve. I'm not doing that. Now, the piece that you're not seeing here is the binding. I'm going to use ready-made binding that I have satin bias tape. I have enough fabric of this print left over for a pencil skirt to make later to complete a set. So I don't want to use any of that leftover fabric for making bias tape. So I'm going to use another type of bias tape. It'll be black. It'll be inside, it'll be discreet, so it won't matter. First thing we're doing is stay stitching. With every woven project, it's the same thing. We're going to have facings here later, and we don't want this to stretch out. It's a V neckline, so it could easily stretch out. So I'm doing both front necklines. And now I'm doing the back. I'm going from the shoulder into the center and then flipping the fabric from the shoulder into the center again to keep it all symmetrical. Because this is going to be a sleeveless garment, we're also going to stay stitch the armholes. I usually wouldn't do if there were sleeves coming in later. So that is the next step, from the shoulder down to the side seams. After doing all that stay stitching, we have some dots to do. We have dots at the side and the front for the bust. As usual, I start from the tip of the dot and I place my needle by hand right on the edge, and then I keep going. Shorter stitch length, no back tacking, and then I go to the widest part. And then by hand, we do a few knots there at the tip of the dot, and it's going to end up super neat. After doing both bust dots, we have fisheye dots on the back. In this case, we have tips on the top and the bottom, so we don't reinforce either at the start or at the end. We do the same type of knot we did with the bust dot. After stay stitching and doing the dots, we're going to serge all the raw edges. Right now, I'm doing shoulder seams. I'm going to include the bottom as well because I want to fold up my hem just once, not twice. So I need the bottom finished as well. Then I'm going up the side seams, and I'll do this for the fronts and the backs. Lots of serging, quite mindless, but you get it over and done with. After serging everything, I've gone ahead and sewn the shoulder seams, 1/2 inch seam allowance. I have finger pressed these seams open because with linen it's easy to do that. So let's put this aside. And I've done the same thing with the facing pieces. With the facing, you want to put them right sides together like this. And this shape goes on the inner section. So that's how you want it to look, like this. Right sides together, 1/2 inch seam allowance. Also finger pressed it open like that. And now to finish the edges of this pattern, we need to fold it in by 1/2 inch. I don't want to eyeball that. So I'm going to do a guide stitch all the way around the outer edge with my sewing machine. And that's going to help me press it without burning myself or guessing, so that it ends up looking super neat. I'm using a straight stitch, just a longer stitch length, 4.0, so that I can easily remove this later once I've already pressed it in. I've been to the iron and pressed it in very neatly. I don't want to leave that 1/2 inch in there because I think it's too much, especially with the weight of my fabric. So I'm going to go all the way around and just cut this in half. Just leave a small amount folded in, and that's enough. This crease that I created with the iron is strong, at least with linen. It works really well. So I'm not concerned about manipulating this and losing this crease. Here where we have the V part of this facing, we have this curve. Here we need a few snips to relieve the tension. So in this area, I'm snipping close to the fold, but not right next to it, all along this section here. Basically, when this folds in, you can see how this separates a little bit. That means that there's no tension anymore. I've placed the facing right sides together with the neckline. Shoulder seams matching right here. This is a rounded back area. Then we go off to the front and down the center, and the facing is going to be 1 inch shorter than the edge here. That's fine, it's supposed to be like that. Now we're going to sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. After sewing this, again, I don't want to leave that 1/2 inch seam allowance in there, so I'm trimming it away so that it's smaller. Here I'm snipping, but only in the back section because that's the only curved area that really needs it. This is another presser foot. This has an L on it. It's also a type of blind hem presser foot, but different. When you move this, it moves this edge in or out. So you can actually get whatever seam allowance you want, and it's really helpful. I've set it here to about 1/8 of an inch. Now we need to understitch. So I have extended my facing like that. Seam allowance is right underneath the facing, and we're going to sew right there on the edge all the way around. That's understitching. I'm not sewing from the very bottom. I'm leaving about 5/8 free there. Here where I have the V point, I'm not going to understitch through it, so I'm going to get as close as I can and then start over again on that little angle. That's how this looks extended. The edge stitching is done right there, the understitching. And how I'm going to finish this is a little different. In the pattern, you're supposed to fold it in twice by 1/2 inch. But because I have a medium weight fabric, I just want to fold it up once. So what I'm going to do is bring this forward, right sides together over here. And I'm going to look at this side where that seam is, and I'm going to stitch right down there, just that little bit there. I could do it here, but I'd have to guess where the stitch is. So I'm flipping it to this side, and I can see exactly where to sew. Right there where I'd sewn before. And then I'm going to flip it. So that's sewn like this. And now when I flip it, the hem is actually going to come over that facing right there. And then the hem keeps going. I'm probably going to do this hem by hand. So I'm just going to finish the other side and leave that part for later. I've pressed the facing flat on top of the ironing and I hand basted it down while it was flat on the ironing board. So you can see my red stitches there, and I'm just using my edge stitch foot to go all the way around. I'm going to do a single ruffle, so I'm using the widest piece here. The instructions say to fold up by 1/4 inch twice and hem, but my fabric is just too thick for that, so I'm just folding it up once by 1/2 inch, and I've got it hand basted there because it's a curve. I'm going to top stitch that down. One edge has a single notch that will match the front armhole, and the other side has a double one that's going to match the back armhole. After hemming, I'm doing these gathering stitches on the straight edge of the ruffles, and I'm doing the first row at 1/4 inch. Long stitch length, for me it's 5. And then I'm doing a second one 3/8 of an inch from the edge. That's for both ruffles. I've got my ruffle piece there. Around the middle, not exactly in the middle, there's a line that will match the shoulder seam. And this right here is the front armhole. There's a single notch on the ruffle and the single notch on the armhole. And then the same on the other side, double notch over here with a double over there. So you can see there's all this excess to gather around this part. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then just do a quick basting stitch to hold it in place. After the ruffle has been basted in place, then you just treat this armhole like any other armhole, and then carry on doing the binding like you would any other binding that's going to be tucked in towards the inside. After basting on the ruffles, you can see I'm sewing a binding on right on top, sandwiching the ruffles between the binding and the armhole. It's as easy as doing any type of binding, and I have a full video showing you how to bind. Nothing changes here. It's just that you're sewing binding on and flipping it towards the inside so it's hidden, and then the ruffles are going to peek out. This is my gorgeous polka dot version. I got this fabric for my birthday. My husband treated me to a little fabric shopping spree, a belated one, a little after my birthday. And this is one of the fabrics I picked up. Very nice, super easy to work with, nice and structured. I didn't really need to worry about matching anything, you know, it was just super enjoyable. I have quite a few buttons, and I picked black so that they would just blend and not really be seen that much. I didn't want to use white buttons. So I first determined, as always, what is my bust height, which is sort of the one close to the dart, this one. Make sure there's a button right there at the fullest part of my bust. And then I measure, and mine are 2 inches apart. I have a lot of buttons. You can see them there, little black ones, very discreet. And they just hold the garment together, which is the purpose here. I'm not trying to make a feature out of these buttons because the polka dots are the feature. There is the facing. It's folded in towards the inside, as you saw, top stitched down super neatly. It's never going to move. I have some leftover to make a skirt later, and you know how much I love my sets. So I was not going to touch that to make matching bias tape. So I just used satin bias tape that I've got in bulk. It's really neat, understitched. It's in there. It's a really, really neat finish on the inside. You can see it's all there. It's top stitched around the whole arm, and then the little ruffle just pokes out through there. Mine is a single. I wouldn't have wanted to add a second layer of ruffles because this fabric is heavier. I would reserve double ruffles for lightweight fabrics like rayon, for example. That's not what I chose. I've got some dots there. Maybe you can see the polka dots getting a bit distorted. Very nice. I did make some changes in the way I hemmed just because my fabric is heavier. I try to avoid folding twice when I work with this type of fabric. I'd rather just fold up once. But it doesn't change the outward look of the garment or anything. It's just a small change. That's how it looks like on the inside, the facing, the hem. I did it by hand, so it looks nice and neat. Here are my dots at the back. It's gorgeous. I really love how it turned out. I've already worn. Check out my cute Mindelo top from Itch to Stitch. This is the first version I made in linen, rayon blend, polka dot, gorgeous. I've got a 12 size bust C-cup taken in to a 10 waist and then out to a 14 hip. I've left the original length. I've got really discreet buttons in there. I think the length of the top at the mid hip is good. My bust dart, I lowered it a little bit by 5/8 of an inch, and I also tweaked a little the back waist darts. I think they give gorgeous shaping. As you can see there, it goes in at the small of the back and back out. Love seeing those darts there. There's the facing on the inside, very neat, easy technique to do. And then I have a sleeveless option with one single layer of ruffles. You can do double ruffles. It's all finished with a binding on the inside. All very neat on the back. Everything is top stitched. The facing's not going to move. If I bend over, you can't see anything. The depth of this V is very nice. It's just right, not too low, not too high. And it's such a gorgeous top. And you know, if sleeveless is not your thing, there is a flatter sleeve option if you want that. Or you can just make it sleeveless with the binding without the little ruffle detail. So there's lots of choices you can make and you'll be happy. Such a gorgeous fit, but I'm obsessed with that ruffle. It's just too adorable. These are just ready to wear jeans here. Now, this is a denim white skirt that of course was going to go perfectly. This is such a classic look. I could have been dressed like this in the 50s in any decade, or in 20 years time it'll still be super classic, and I'm really happy about that. Love the silhouette of the straight skirt with this top that has really nice shaping. Right now it's really cold, but this is definitely going to be a go-to outfit that I'm going to pull out when the weather starts getting nice and hot. These black and white combinations really are me. I think they suit me really well. Then of course I can wear it with black. I can actually wear this with anything, but I pulled out a pair of black knit shorts that I pull up that are super, super comfortable. They might pass as being a skirt, but they're not, they're shorts. And this would be amazing. Kept the sandals white, and this would be a very nice, fresh and super, super comfortable outfit to wear on like a car trip, road trip in a car, something super comfortable, but that you can get out of the car looking really nice and presentable as well. So yeah, really enjoy this one. And the next color combination you might be predicting or maybe not. But yeah, I can't avoid pulling out the red skirt. This is the Quebec skirt. It's also a skirt from Itch to Stitch, pull-up style in a stretch cotton. Really nice. Of course, these three colors are always going to go beautiful together. Another really classic color combination and classic style. That is totally me. It's written all over me, and I absolutely love how this looks. This is another really comfortable outfit. The skirt is stretchy. It's got an elasticated waistband. There's nothing tight here. It's all very, very nice. And check out the fit of the Mindelo top. It's just beautiful with all those dots. Absolutely love it. Now, at the beginning, I mentioned I had to make a dress. I had to because I just couldn't get it out of my mind. I like the straight silhouette of the top. It's not flared. It wasn't going to be an A-line dress at all. I could just keep going down. And I had a great fit around the hips anyway, so I didn't really need to make any changes. So I decided to make a dress, simplified it in the way that I'm getting rid of that overlap and the facing going all the way down. I want to cut that front on the fold and just have a simple V neckline with already making the top and putting it on over my head without opening any buttons. I know it fits my head. I know I don't need any closure actually to get into the garment. So I know I can pull this dress right on over my head without zippers or nothing. So that makes me really happy and makes me want to sew this dress real bad. So I chose a really nice fabric. I did film the process of me redrafting the facings and doing all the small changes. I have that on Patreon. So this is my dress. It's got feathers on it. It's a navy background. The feathers are multicolored. I really love that. And I had to choose what direction to put them because it's a directional fabric. So I left them just facing up like that. Super nice. It's all the same details. This neckline that is simplified made the process a lot shorter. I'd say this dress took me from cutting to putting it on about 2 hours, whilst the other one I was basically sewing the whole day. Well, I was also filming, but this was very enjoyable. And you know, the fabric is pretty bright. The fabric is a statement within itself. So I really didn't need all the buttons to go down. And I prefer having button down features on dresses when I have more ease, because I know that if I sit down, even though I put 20,000 buttons, I might have gaping issues when I sit down around the hip area. And I just don't want to deal with that. So for a sort of semi-fitted dress, which is not semi-fitted, but it's a straight dress, I'd rather just keep it on the fold. And knowing that I can just pull it on over my head made that decision really easy. I use satin bias tape on the inside for the binding. That is how my new facing looks like. Super easy to manage. I could not help myself but make a dress out of this pattern. I just lengthened it by about 15 inches, keeping it straight down. Fits really amazingly over the hips, the waist, and the bust, which means there's no zipper needed. I simplified it by putting the front on the fold and eliminating that facing and button placket. I just created a simple V neckline facing, kept everything the same, it's just not got the buttons. Lovely darts at the back, look beautiful on a dress like this one. And I love the ease here. It's not fitted, it's not tight. The V neckline has the same depth as the one with the buttons, it's just simple. Bust dart placement is awesome. I've kept the same single flat out option. Just because my fabric is a little heavier with the linen, I wouldn't do the double ruffle, but I'd do that if I had a lighter fabric. I have top stitch that facing down. It was a really easy hack to achieve, and most tops can become dresses, and I love the top so much that I knew this could slip right on over my head. The V neckline opening was wide enough to fit my head, and I didn't need the buttons to get in and out. So this is amazing. Absolutely love how it turned out, and this feather print in this linen rayon blend is super bright and it's got me all over it. I love anything with a navy blue background. I think is really cool. I'm gonna really enjoy this dress just to wear on its own and showcase the print here and the lovely fit. And then I'm gonna show you one option a little bit more sporty, like the cool people. Here I've got some white sneakers. I've pulled out my tennis denim jacket. It's also a pattern from Itch to Stitch I made many years ago, which is a classic and a great fit, and it goes beautifully over this linen dress that has all these blue tones in it. You can dress it down casual as well, and it looks amazing. Love it. Straight silhouette under the denim also is always going to look nice. And the little flutter detail on the shoulders doesn't really upset me. It doesn't feel bulky underneath the sleeve, and no one's going to know I've got this amazing little feature under there. So cute. So cute. I love how my two versions turned out. I think they're really amazing. I couldn't help but make the dress because most tops can be dresses. At least I knew this one could because of all the things I explained. And I think this is just darling. It's just so beautiful. The fit is amazing. And I love this detail here. Now, if I would have had time, I would have done other things. I would have made a top just like this one as well. You know, no buttons, nothing, with the same flutter detail because I really love it. I also would have loved to make a little jacket style with a black linen with the flutter sleeves. I think that would have been really cute. Now, if you saw a video I made a few weeks ago about a pattern that had a ruffle in the neckline here, it was a V neckline with a facing finish just like this one, only there was a ruffle to put around here. I'll show you some images. That would have been amazing to hack onto this one as well. So many ideas, so little time. I'm hoping some of these ideas will land onto you and you will be able to execute them. Hopefully one day I can make those come true. Don't forget to check out the Mindelo that is on sale through the 25th, 20% off. It's a great time to get it. And I'll see you again very soon with some neat makes that are extremely cute as well.